Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Stallions Run. Of course, Buck and Scout here with you as always. And I wouldn't exactly call this a breaking news episode because the episode is going to be coming out tomorrow, but we're recording this right after some big free agency news came out for the Stallions, along with the rules dropping today. So, Scout, I guess let's get right into things. We have a lot to talk about. So of course, first off, the rules have officially dropped. We know officially what the rule set's going to look like. It's a lot of since the XFL and the USFL had a lot of the same rules. We're not seeing a lot of big changes besides on extra points and kickoffs, really. Um,
Mhm.
so I mean, let's get into those extra points. It's going to be the XFL style, so 2 yard, 5 yard, 10 yard for 1, 2, and 3. Personally, not a fan. Um, Scott, I'll let you kind of give your opinion on that in a second, but I'm someone who thinks you have to. It should have been 1 yard as always for that for the kicker for the extra point because you got to have that development I'm like for people. It's just Scout. Do you think Brandon Aubrey would be with the Cowboys and have the success he has seen if the USFL had 2 yards for 1 point?
Um, I'm not exactly sure. I think it was definitely a lot easier for him to be, like for him to get that opportunity, for him to get that chance to make it to the NFL. But I do think that there will still be kickers and long snappers and punters that are making it to the NFL anyways. I think it is like I would prefer to have an extra point option at least. I do like the choice of having a 2 or 3 point play, but at least a
Hmm.
choice would be what I would prefer. Even if it was like they just merged and say, hey, you could run a 2 yard play for a yard, or you could do a PAT. Um, but I think they just wanted to, make it the same way just in case anybody tried to do something really dumb. But yeah, I think it'll be fine though. Like I think some people are just like I don't want to say overreacting a little, but just being a little bit too pessimistic about the whole situation. Um, but
That's like maybe it's because I've seen the success, with Brandon Aubrey.
mm,
It's just like I you have to wonder if that opportunity would still be there if he didn't have that extra point film. That's the thing. It's those extra chances. After one touchdown,
right.
he always gets that chance. So for me, it's a mixture of you got to at least provide the opportunity, in my opinion. But then when it comes to kickoffs, it's going to be the USFL style, which is something I enjoyed. Again, it seems Gerald Johnson agreed with this. Basically,
Mm,
I believe it's closer to the NFL style. There's some tweaks, like it's going to be on the 20 yard line, but from my opinion, it's much better. Again, I know the XFL fans, those that are still the hardcores, will probably hate me for this, but I I was not a fan of the XFL kickoff. It was too cartoony for me. That's the best word. It felt like it felt forced with how they were trying to be like, all right, look how much like there's no touchback. They're trying. It's like that feels forced. You got to have
right.
something that's more natural, not just a forced offense. But yeah, otherwise the rules they're pretty much the same. The UFL will have 2 feet in, a rule I agree with, considering you're trying to get players from spring ball to the NFL. So something I agree with right there. Coaches can challenge just about anything. 4th and 12 is sticking around, but
Mm.
only for the fourth quarter for the onside kick. So another positive. Scout, any other kind of rule stuff that you see that you kind of want to comment on?
I really like the 4th and 12, the rules that are involved in it. I would like, this is just me. I don't think it's a smart thing, but I would like it to be a free for all in the second half. If I want to go for it on 4th and 12, I should be able to. But I assume it's a sportsman thing that you can only do it if you're tied or losing. Um, but yeah, but and then with the kickoff, I
Mm,
think it'll be fine. Like I like it. I did prefer the USFL kickoff, but I think it'll be a little bit weirder because it is another 10 yards back, I do believe. It's at the 20
mhm.
yard line now, and the ball will probably travel to the 20 or to the 25, even on a better kicker. um, just just like normally. So I'm not sure how many actual touchbacks we'll see because I know Brandon was like by the end of the season was hitting like to the 5 yard line or a touchback if they were just letting it go on the
Yep.
30-yard line. But yeah, but it should be fine. I'm excited for all the new rule changes. I don't think that they've made any huge mistake, but yeah, but it should be fun.
All right. Well then, moving on from the rule set. Now that we have that, we have some free agency news to talk about. The majority of which kind of hit us right before the show. Basically, I was reacting to stuff about an hour ago with how how time works. Scout, I guess let's get right into it. We did lose a couple players though. The major ones being Cam Carter and Zaquandre White. White, of course, was a huge part of that running game for the 2022 and 2023 season for the Stallions. Losing him is one I know that Zach Potter probably that was a hard decision that he had to go through. We talked about it. That running back room, it was already so big. Everyone knew,
Mhm.
including us, you got to cut someone. I personally thought it was possibly going to be Bo Scarborough, but I am pleasantly surprised. Well, no, let me scratch that. I am not pleasant. I hate seeing this, but I am. I guess I'm a little shocked that it is like Quandre White instead of Bo Scarborough.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I didn't think that White was going to get the first X. I thought he might have gotten the second one because I don't think we're gonna cut just one. But yeah, but it'll put a very weird situation, or it'll put the management in a really weird situation of which one do you want to take off now. Um, I assume that it still will be Bo. I think and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the other edition. But I think that both Bo and Jamar are poised to potentially, if they weren't to play necessarily, they could become a
Mm-hmm.
quarter like a coach in the staff because I think both of them have a good enough repertoire where if camp doesn't go that well for them and they do underperform, which I don't think either of them should underperform, but just devil's
Mm-hmm.
advocate, if they do underperform, they could be there to be a coach or something like I believe was it Marlon Williams? I know Jamar did too, but like the guys that got injured week 1 last year, they stayed on the
That was
sidelines
Bo's.
and we got the
Bo was a week one injury. Williams, I think, might have maybe he came back really quick. But I mean,
yeah.
like that week one game in 2023 was cursed. So
But
yeah.
yeah.
All right. Well, I guess let's kind of get into the additions. The first one is a returning fan favorite from 2022, DeMarquis Gates, linebacker, played at Ole Miss. He is back. Uh, Scout, what's your thoughts on having the Floss Man back in Birmingham?
Yeah, I'm a huge Gates guy. He was like in the first year, I was into the Stallions, but I really wasn't into, taking pictures with players or whatever. But like at the last game, I think it was the last one at Legion. Um, I was like, I had to wait, and we literally were sitting right by, I believe it was Gates's family. I forget which family member it was, and my
Mm,
dad had like talked to the, I think it was his uncle or something along those lines, and literally I like walked down with him, and they got me a picture with him, and I thought that was so funny, and he had like the little floss pick in his mouth. It was iconic. But yeah, but he's
yeah.
a great player. He was with Chicago. I believe he was a fairly like consistent player with Chicago.
Right.
I
Yes.
was honestly
I mean,
wondering,
I mean, he was with the practice squad for what the entire 2023 season. He didn't, of
yeah,
course, didn't come back to Birmingham during the 23 season. I mean, I'm kind of surprised to see him kind of be maybe coming back. Maybe he wants to get some more
mhm,
reps and then maybe try to get into a starter role with the Bears if they like what they see. So something to look at right there.
yeah, and but he's one of those where I'm almost wondering now, is this a plan for him? Because I think he probably could have stayed with the Bears, but I'm wondering if this is like not only stay with the Bears, but get a better shot, get a better roster spot somewhere else, prove yourself, that type of thing. Because it's like with how the XFL was aiming itself and how the USFL also was aiming itself, if we're in a combined league where the skill set should be higher, it could be something like that. Because like I don't think it's a incredibly hot take. that the 2024 UFL will be 10 times like a higher skill set than the 2022
Hmm.
USFL. Because I think the 2022 USFL, there wasn't a lot of people that were committed to it because it was like no one knew if it would just finish the season, and it finishing the season was huge. Like I think the a huge part of the XFL coming back in full force was that well we just saw a team go or a league go from week one to the championship game and finish. Um, but yeah, but I think it'll be a great addition.
All right, yeah, I gotta agree. I mean, I think he's basically someone that, again, as Ace said on Twitter, you probably saw this. The rich get richer, but you add this name, it's almost like we are having we're adding more treasure to the treasure that we already have.
Um,
Matt Corral, the once kind of thought of the next starter for the Carolina Panthers, then kind of had ownership issues. He was seemingly kind of forced away. He is now coming to Birmingham. Name that
yeah,
kind of shocked everyone. And then we kind of joked that maybe he comes to Birmingham, and then
no.
we didn't take that serious, but here we are.
Yeah, and I know we talked about this pre-show, but I'm pretty sure it was the draft, the little draft live show that we did with Ace that I had joked around about that because he said that we didn't draft a big time name at quarterback or we didn't draft a name that we knew or like we drafted a backup but we didn't draft like a big time name and I believe it
Hmm.
was you or me that made the joke of like hey think of like Matt Corral or I think somebody in the comments said Mac Jones too but Corral, he's a great player, right? He had 75 total touchdowns at Ole Miss. And I think he'll add that like Alex Magoo type energy. Like I think Jamar is a great he does have legs, he can roll out, but I believe Jamar's arm and his IQ is his selling point, whereas Corral's selling point is his legs, his improvising, pl making plays on the outside, that type of thing. And I think one of the things with this, and you can see the same thing with Adrian Martinez, is that they're both runners for the most part, right? Like
Hmm.
they run more than Jamar does. And I'm wondering that if they're in this mindset again, kind of how they were last year, where the spread is set up, but if like we have to run the ball, we do have multiple quarterbacks that can run now. So
Yeah. Um, I think my kind of question though at this point is, with the quarterback room, someone's got to go. I
yeah,
mean, who do you think is the name right now? Because you have Martinez, you have I'm blanking right now, and I hate that I'm
Morton,
blanking. Morton, yes, Jalen Morton. Of course, Jamar, and now you have Matt Corral. I mean,
yeah.
I think unfortunately for Jalen, you got to be expecting that phone call soon. Unfortunately,
I think they let them all go to camp. They probably find a way to take four to camp. Um, just in like I know most NFL teams like to take four to camp as well. But it's just
yeah.
one of those things like Morton, I believe. Hold on, I need to look up Adrian Martinez's age. But I believe yeah, Morton is the oldest of that three there. So Morton being 26 and Martinez and Corral are both 23 and 24. Um, so or no, Corral's 25, pardon me. But
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you kind of look at age. I know Morton is a taller quarterback, but I think, and this is kind of the thing with quarterback coach. I don't think any four of these quarterbacks are that bad. Like I don't think that there's a true defining factor of any of them. But if Jamar is to look like not as hot, like there has to have already been a conversation about that. Because I feel like you can't. Because I know he made a tweet responding to adversity, and I assume that he will fight this as hard as he can. But there has to have been a conversation of we're going to bring in talent that may or may not be better than you.
Yeah.
Because he has a great relationship with Skip. He has a great relationship with Potter, I'm assuming, and it's just one of those things where it's like I would hate it for Jamar if he wasn't the starting quarterback and if a newcomer became the starting quarterback. But it also like I'm not sure if it would surprise me, just with the
Hmm.
level of talent they've brought in this offseason.
Yeah, at this point though, it's just like they're already at 75 because they course cut Zaquandre and they
Yeah.
cut Carter. So they're sticking at 75 for now,
Yeah.
before having to go into final cuts. Um, the question I have really for myself is, do you really want? I mean, I mean, unfortunately, I think they are going to go to training camp before at this rate, but at the same time, it's like, who do you think is going to be 1 through 3? Because there's no way they're keeping 4.
Yeah.
I think Morton's the odd man out here, so I think unfortunately he's gone. But the way I'm looking at things, if Corral can stay at that Ole Miss and kind of Carolina with his first Carolina camp consistency, then he's got to be number one. But here's the thing: you never put down Jamar Smith. I mean,
Yeah.
the man came into the 2022 USFL season for the Stallions basically as the backup. Alex unfortunately then has both the injury and not the greatest performance in week 1 against New Jersey. And Jamar takes over for the rest of the season there. But then you also have Adrian Martinez, someone who showed at Kansas State he is a good quarterback. So I got unfortunately think it's one for Matt, 2 for Jamar, and 3 for Adrian. And it's just like, but here's the thing: that list is so interchangeable for me. I mean, there's a chance we could see Adrian Martinez absolutely shoot up to number one. You know, because the Stallions quarterback room is so stacked at the moment. It's not even funny. Like, we're having to have this serious conversation that I'm sure Zach and Skip are having, every single day.
Yeah. And it's insane. It's definitely going to be a tough decision, I think. They might try a trade, which I think is kind of what they're going for here.
I mean,
Maybe
okay, yeah,
not
let's talk
like,
about some
but
quarterbacks. Hang on.
yeah,
Well, hang on. Here's the thing. But with this release today, St. Louis, they got rid of Nick Tiano. He is
yeah,
gone. And AJ McCarron, there people are like, oh, since Matt Corral's coming in for signs, could he potentially be coming in? Personally, I think AJ, and
yeah,
this is my opinion as someone who's an Alabama fan, I think AJ might have done some damage with those union comments. That he, in my opinion, he made pretty needlessly, and I think that really might have hurt some opportunities with the UFL. Could you see one of these quarterbacks get traded to St. Louis? No, I don't think Matt Corral is going to be traded to St.
yeah,
Louis. But unfortunately, could you see Jamar Smith be traded to St. Louis? Could you see Adrian get traded to St. Louis? It's kind of like one of those things, or even Jalen Gordon. He could potentially go to St. Louis.
yeah.
It's like I could see that being a possibility where Birmingham's going to say, all right, we have a potential hole in St. Louis we could fill. What could they give to us? That's a question I think that they bring up. It's very important.
And the funniest way, so like also talking about since we're on like more overall quarterbacks, former Stallion Kyle Sloter is also without a job. And that's the most insane thing to me because he played really well with New Orleans, right? And
Mm-hmm.
then he came to Jacksonville originally. And he played I thought he played decent there. I thought he should have earned the third job there. Um, but then he came back to the UFL or USFL and he went to the Stallions after some
Oh,
time,
no, no, no!
obviously.
We gotta talk. No, we gotta talk about Bob Stoops absolutely kind of just misused the man in the XFL with the Renegades. How the Renegades misused Kyle Slaughter is forever going to be one of the biggest mysteries. Probably because Bob Stoops is a stubborn old man, but just
Is
my
he still
opinion.
in the league or is he not?
Yes, yes, he is.
Yeah,
Hey,
I was about to
Bob
say.
Stoops, yeah, he's the Renegades head coach still.
That's gonna be used against us in a
Mickey
couple
Mouse
of weeks.
ring.
But yeah, but yeah, that was the same point, or I totally missed to make that point. But I thought us having, Arlington's former quarterback, I thought that we were gonna, go to Arlington at least with him on the team. But he's currently a free agent, so I know he just turned 30, I think a week ago. But so it's a new league. I think a lot of people are gonna have to admit to that.
Yeah,
There's half the players are gone. If you liked a player and he wasn't the best in the field, he's probably gone. And that's crazy to say because even like last year, I'm sure at the moment I say this, someone's gonna have someone pop in their head, but 2023 USFL was being really picky about who they were signing, and they were being very
yeah.
like they're trying to make sure they signed the best players. And now you have that pickiness, as well as you have like it's only 8 teams, and it's 8 teams in all of American gridiron spring football. So, but yeah,
Yeah. I don't know. It's just I think spring football fans need to kind of understand that this is something I've gone through. Again, I'm going to use the minor league hockey comparison again. In minor league hockey, at least with single A, and I cover single A hockey also, you
yeah,
do not have the same rosters year to year. You might have some names stick around, yeah, but you see new faces a lot, and
yeah.
I think spring football fans need to prepare for the idea you're going to see a new face almost every single year at every position. So you
We're
know,
getting extremely
it's
close. I think we're getting
oh, go
close
ahead.
to like how the Bulls have Trevor Rose has gone up like twice or 3 times now to make money. I think
Hmm.
we're gonna get up to a point where there's gonna be incentivized, like the teams themselves are gonna get incentivized to be able to produce talent that goes to the NFL. Um, and that could just be a league thing. It could be like, hey, if the UFL sends 20 guys to camps, they get X amount of money, right? Like X amount of investment, kind of like a grant, right? It's like if
Hmm.
you prove to me that you can get 20 extra guys into camp, you get this amount of money. If you get 5 guys signed to an NFL roster, you get this amount of money. And just like that kind of incentive based like relationship. And I'm just talking out my butt right now, but you get what I mean. Like the NFL clearly sees this as a guinea pig, right? It's
Yeah,
the only time in the last 40 years that we've had a spring league last more than a season.
a season.
Um, yeah, and we're getting to the point that if we make it past next year, 2025, we would be on the brink of being the longest spring league ever. So, or longest consecutive spring league ever, because several of them had a little gap in between. But but yeah, but I think it's like this is more broad scope, 5,000 degree thought, but I think we're trying to build the UFL to be kind of like, God, this is gonna come off so not a lot of people are gonna like this, but like the WNBA, because the WNBA is in markets that aren't NBA markets, most of them are, and it's like a guinea pig for certain things that are happening in the NBA, at least like market wise. And like,
Hmm.
because Birmingham could be like, if you had 40 football cities, Birmingham could be up there, right? St. Louis could definitely be a relocation or a expansion city for the NFL if they went up to 36 or 40 teams. Um, and I think like we're starting to see where like the UFL, your market, your fan base, and the amount of like eyes you bring in are more important than anything. So,
Yeah.
more than-
All right. Well, I think we have a good place for to end off the show for this week. Scott, where can people find you?
yeah, you can find me at Southern Charm SP. I made a cool little Matt Corral graphic. I'll probably have a DeMarquis Gates graphic up by either tomorrow or well, by the time you see this, hopefully. Um, but yeah, you can find me at Southern Charm SP, Southern Charm Sports, on Instagram and Twitter, and I believe that's it currently.
Oh, but what about your code Charm for Sanford Sports?
Oh my Lord.
I had to bring that
So,
up. I had to bring that up.
hold on.
Spit out.
I'm having to pause so I can just turn it all into one little clip. So if you want to go see Sanford basketball and watch Akora and Company take on their next 5 games, you can use code CHARM in the single game ticket at the bottom of the single game tickets, and you get 50% off individual tickets. And for the East Tennessee State game, I'm not exactly sure, but you get a better deal on the reserved seating as well. So it's 50% off just general admission tickets, and then for the East Tennessee State game, you get I believe it's a better deal on the reserve seating. So yeah.
Amazing salesman. Amazing salesman. All right. I'm Buck, of course, as always. You can find me at Stallions, UFM, not too hard. Again, posting my reaction to things as we learn them in real time. It looks like we're going to get a little more news throughout February, and then heading into March, we're going to be looking at training camp. We're going to be learning what's happening there. March 30th is coming quickly. We're not that far away. Scout. We're about 6 weeks away from the UFL kicking off. I'm sure you're excited about that
Yeah.
as always. Well, We shall see you guys next week. But until then, stay safe and